Hello and welcome back to the British and Irish Eagles podcast for the start of a number of special episodes. It's a special kind of year for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's special because if you are watching on YouTube or on Twitter, Instagram, or anywhere where you can see video, you'll notice that I'm not joined by a fence today. I'm actually joined by a beard. Mick, welcome back to the British and Irish Eagles podcast for yours truly series, The Road to the Draft. How are you, sir, and what can we expect out of this series?
Thanks, Liam. I'm happy to be back on the podcast. It's been a long time. We get Mick back resurrection in the off season when it's draft time. It's draft season, so I'm back for our, as you say, our brand new series, Road to the Draft. So over the next several weeks, we'll be breaking down everything that you need to know ahead of the 2026 NFL draft, the prospects, the fits, all the rumours, the strategy that Howie Roseman will have in his war room, and most importantly, what that all means for the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll be diving into position groups, reacting to mock drafts from all the talking heads around the league, as well as our own mock drafts, of course. We'll do mock drafts probably every Monday, and we'll drop them into the group chat. We'll call that Mock Draft Monday. I don't not the most original name.
Could we do a competition? Do you reckon we could do a little draft competition in the off season where
there's always time for a competition?
Yeah,
you know that, especially in the British and Irish Eagles, the Philly Sports International, we're known for competitions, for giveaways, for doing everything that we can in our community just to make you feel a little bit closer to Philadelphia. So we'll be doing all that, tracking the combine risers, looking at the 30 visits as well, if you remember, Liam, last year.
I do, yeah.
30 visits, even though we didn't end up drafting any of them.
You can't get them all right.
But we'll be trying to get into the mind of one Howie Roseman, because there's one thing that we know, that he never sits still on draft night. So if you're an Eagles fan who lives for this time of the season, the roster building, the draft season, the future of this franchise, you're in the right place. This is Road to the Draft.
We got our own Fran Duffy back for the Road to the Draft season. It's great for people like me and Phil who don't want to watch college football as much as you and pay attention to it as much as you do, because we're novices when it comes this time of year. We're the real amateurs, and we're looking at you as like the pro who's got this insider knowledge from all of the games you watch during the season and all of the research you do in the off season. Because I know me, and I know a lot of people listening in the UK and Ireland and wherever you are in the world are, we're thankful that we have your insights here, Mick. And I've got like a number of questions. I mean, this is your gig. I'm looking for you to go through all of this with me, and I've got a few questions in my locker that I'm gonna based on what's happened in the season, based on what's happened in the last few weeks. I'm interested to see what you think, how that changes Howie's mindset and what they do in this draft. Breaking news only in the last 24 hours that Lane Johnson and Landon Dickerson will be coming back. So since we last did a podcast, that's breaking news. I'm sure that's going to have an impact on this series of the Road to the Draft.
Yeah, I'm so glad that news did come out before the first episode of Road to the Draft, or I would be probably giving out some useless information.
Bit like me saying Sean Mannion sounds like Bunyan, so we shouldn't draft him as an OC. And then an hour later, after the podcast is released, we announce we're signing Mannion as our OC at that age, I don't know what that age, not well.
It always happens, Liam. Every time that we do a podcast, there's always some big news that gets released, and it makes it ages the podcast almost immediately. No doubt, once we put this one out, we'll have re-signed some players or something. Your Nakobe Dean will be re-signed.
No doubt. Mick, tell us, remind everyone, what have we got to play with this year? Like, what's our draft capital looking like?
Yes, so as listeners may remember from last year's Road to the Draft podcast, what we did at the start of every episode was just remind people of what picks the Philadelphia Eagles hold coming into the draft, because it will change from now until draft night, or maybe it won't, maybe it will, but as we know, Howie likes to wheel and deal, throw trades around, move up, move down. So at the moment, we're sitting quite healthy in the draft pick front. We've got quite a few bullets to load into the chamber. We've got our first round pick at number 23 overall. We have a second round pick at 54 overall. We have 2 third round picks. First being the Jets pick at pick 68, and we have a comp pick at pick 98. So that's 4 picks in the top 100. Howie season, man, Howie season.
And that Jets pick is it's nearly a late second. Like, it's 3.4, right?
It's the fourth pick in the third round, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a high third round pick. Like, to me, like those 3 picks in particular, like you're looking to get stars with those 3 picks.
Yeah, those are the kind of guys. Those are the sort of prospects that you would expect to be playing at least significant snaps in the 2026 season. Possibly starters. It depends on what we're looking
Where
for,
they go.
how we draft. Because if you're talking about drafting
tackle.
Lane's replacement,
Yeah.
he's not going to get significant snaps.
Nah.
But it's preparing the team for the future.
Yep.
And that's what Howie likes to do. Howie drafts a year before he has to draft, so he'll be looking for the Lane replacement in this draft, not next year. He'll be looking this year to do it.
It's a pity we can't draft like the next Jeff Stoutland out of the draft class. If that was an option, I'd be all game. Like, slight segue, and I don't want to take us off task, but like I am so intrigued by what the Eagles' offensive line is going to be next year. Whether we draft someone, which we clearly will, injuries, Stoutland, the whole thing, mind blown. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway,
it's got to be the number one. Oh no, well, maybe not the number one. Second to Sean Mannion and what his offense is actually going to look like.
Yeah.
But aside from that, the biggest question around the Philadelphia Eagles has got to be the O-line. What are we known for? We're known for elite play on the O-line. Like, you have a really good tackle or a really good guard who'd be a starter on another team. They're still not Eagles quality starting offensive linemen.
Yeah.
So you're talking the highest of the highest.
I was listening to a podcast earlier on today, H.O.W.I.E, and they were saying like this, the floor for what the Eagles will be looking for would be like the 11th or 12th best O-line in the league. Like, that's the floor of what the Eagles expect, right? Because that is what they're about. And I just think that makes, spoiler alert, I would be shocked if we don't sign a tackle in the first round. Like, I would be shocked if it was 54. Like, that would be how. And like, I would almost go as far as to saying, Mick, I think the way the offensive line looks next year is more important than what the entire offense looks like, because you've seen the stats with Lane Johnson. It's something like 97 wins, 46 losses. See, this is what happened last time. It's like more than 2-1 when Lane Johnson's there and working, and then it's 1-2 in terms of wins when he's not there. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into that, but I'm excited, Mick, to see what this draft is going to unfold.
Me too, my friend. Me too. And just to round us off on the draft picks, we've got 2 4th-round picks and 2 5th-round picks as well. So we have a total of 8 picks in this draft, which again, 4 in the top 100. Exceptional work from our man Howie Roseman to work with, and I don't expect us to take all of those picks. He may use some of them to move up, move down. We'll see on draft night. It's always interesting.
Is there any more we can get from compensatory picks, Nick, that aren't there at the moment that were due? Or has that already been defined?
No, It's now defined. Yeah. The free agents that are set to leave this year, which is a good segue onto our next segment of the podcast. The competition they're due this year will move on to the 2027 draft, depending on how much.
So that Milton Williams comp pick, was the 334, the 34th pick in the third round.
Yes.
Gotcha. Thanks. And now Mick has been booted out of the chat, so I'll leave him for a minute until he comes back in. Here we go. It's gonna be what it is, Mick. We're just gonna have to roll with the dice, and we are choosing a new streaming platform after this episode.
Roll with the punches.
All right. Yeah, so talk to us about those free agents, Mick.
Yeah. So what we have to do before we start looking at who we're going to draft, we need to see where the holes are in the team, who's set to leave this roster. And there's no shortage of names on the Eagles' list of free agents this year. And top of the list is Dallas Goedert, who we gave a 1-year deal or 1-year extension. And yeah, it looks very unlikely that he'll return to the Eagles unless a deal was already made. It's due for quite a bit of a dead cap penalty. I believe it's about 20 million this year. That's the way how he likes to operate the cap or manipulate the numbers, knowing that the cap will rise every year, and he doesn't mind taking that penalty. But our tight end room is probably going to take a bit of a hit there because looking down the list, we've got Goddard, we've got Calcaterra, and we've got Granson, who are all free agents.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves our tight end room pretty depleted. And whether or not we pick up some more free agent guys or we look to the draft for a tight end, it's a good question. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the podcast. But it's something just to bear in mind where we really need to start picking up pieces, and just continuing on offensive weapons. Jahan Dotson is another free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Wide receiver 3. We don't know the future of A.J. Brown. He's not a free agent, but he may not be on the roster. So we're talking all these. That's a lot of targets. Not Dotson, but AJ, there's a lot of targets. Goddard, that's a lot of targets over the middle as well.
And what's interesting about the tight end room specifically, and you just touched on it there, Mick, is you're talking about holes here and gaps here of what's likely to be a big gap. When you look at someone like Nakobe Dean, who for me is like, he's up there with Jalen Phillips and Dallas Goedert as the three big, in my opinion, free agents that we could let go. With Nakobe Dean, you're not worried about the hole as much because you've got Campbell and you've got Bourne there, and you've got Charter Jr. there who could still come on as well. But even with Jalen Phillips, depending on if Brandon Graham comes back, you've still got Hunt, you've still got Nolan, and perhaps pick someone else up in free agency. They could do that for the tight end as well. But the tight end room specifically feels like the biggest hole for the Eagles based on what's most likely going to happen with those three guys.
Yeah, because I just don't see any of them really re-signing. You might get Calcaterra re-signing on a really cheap team deal because really, who really wants Calcaterra? I don't particularly want Calcaterra. I think we'll have a new tight end coach as well this coming season, I believe.
Yeah, we do. Yep.
Yeah, so maybe he wants to just revamp the whole room. Cam Latu will still be there. He's still under contract. That's the only tight end that we'll actually have. As I said, that there's some big free agents on the market. Kyle Pitts, if people were talking about him on the chat. I'm not sure that H.O.W.I.E goes for that sort of free agent pickup. We'll see what free agent brings us, and we'll revisit it on the podcast once we know the free agents that. Well, after post free agency, post the tampering period, and we know if H.O.W.I has filled any of the holes prior to the draft, because, and I'm sure he will, and maybe not in a big way, but at least in like to get depth guys in the building, just so that he doesn't have a glaring hole like that. If he's lost 3 guys in free agency, he's not signing any of the 3 of Calcaterra or Granson. He's going into the draft with no tight ends.
Unless
and then he has to go and sign a tight end in the draft, and I don't think he wants to be in that position, Liam. It just doesn't feel like Howie.
I completely agree. So not unless. Completely agree on that. He's going to pick someone up before the draft, regardless. That person might be a depth piece. Here's something that I just thought of that maybe we could discuss in another podcast in detail. What do you reckon the chances are of Jason convincing his brother Travis, whose contract runs out in March 2026, to come and have a year playing for the Eagles? How cool would that be?
That would be wild. That would be absolutely wild.
And then Taylor Swift could finally go back to being an Eagles fan again. Travis, if you're listening, right, we're going to clip this. Come to Philly, buddy. Come for a year. Come and win a ring in Philly. Bring Taylor with you. It's all right. Jason's already here. You know, come on.
That's it. Jason would need to come back out of retirement so he can play with his brother at the Eagles.
Cam Jurgens is getting cell replenishment treatment in Colombia, so there may well be a role for Jason as well.
Oh God, can you imagine?
Yeah,
that'd be amazing. What were we talking about? Yeah, so he's probably going to go into the draft with at least one new face at tight end before during the free agency period. We'll just see, you know, where on the spectrum that lands. Is that going to be a Kyle Pitts, or is it going to be someone, you know, more of a tight end too that he's looking at, or maybe even a vet, you know, and then possibly draft someone in day 2, day 3, probably day 3, that can sit behind the vet, you know, and then maybe take snaps from them gradually.
Isaiah Likely, please. That's my want.
Is that your want?
Yeah, because every time I saw him play for the Ravens when Andrew wasn't fit, he just seemed to like take advantage of his play. He's fast, you know. He's a pass catching tight end. I think his ceiling is through the roof.
I remember watching him in college. I do remember watching him. I'm trying to remember what team he played for. It's totally gone from my head.
Yeah, I think
I'm pretty sure it was a small G5 team. But.
Right. If you're looking at the amount of money you're going to have to pay for Kyle Pitts or Dallas Goedert, give me Isaiah Likely and draft a tight end in day 2. That would be me. I've been known to be wrong many times, but that would be my current take.
That'll be all. So another position group, Liam, where I thought because of the players that we're potentially losing, the free agents that are set to leave, is the edge group. It's another one where we're left with not a lot around. So you've mentioned Jalen Phillips, who we may choose to re-sign, but if we're going to re-sign him, we've done it before now. Aziz Ojulari set to leave. Brandon Graham is set to leave. Josh Uche set to leave.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's probably gone. Also got Okoronkwo as well. Yeah. Easy for you to say. And that leaves us, you know, the outside
with Hunt and Nolan, right?
Hunt and Nolan. Yeah, that leaves us with 2 guys.
Depending what you want to do with Jahan Campbell, of course. Like if you keep Nakobe, then you're insinuating that you're moving Campbell to be a rotational edge / linebacker. But I don't think that's where Big Fangio is going with him. So I'm not sure I believe in that statement. So
I mean, usually our edge groups, we like to have a deep rotation on our edge groups. We don't have any rotation at the moment the way the squad is. So again, is this going to be another position? I know an edge is quite a premium position, and a slight preview towards the draft, edge is quite deep in this draft class. So edge is a good position to be looking for in this draft class, as well as I think last year's draft class was pretty good at edge as well. But this year's specifically day 1, day 2.
pick up a H.O.W.I.E type number in the 3rd or the 4th round. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking, well, if you're saying round 1, forget it. Just tackle, forget it. Then fine. But
there's
guys at the end of the 1st that we could take, and there's guys definitely in round 2 that we could take. So I would think the first 2 rounds, maybe, since we've got that early pick in the 3rd, maybe we'll see how the draft falls. We'll do some mocks. And we'll see where the guys come to.
It's so interesting because what you were just talking about in terms of the gap at the pass catching tight end and wide receiver position, like it feels like that whatever happens there is going to directly impact what they do at edge, because they could pick up a Bradley Chubb from Miami who used to play for Vic Fangio in free agency and let Jalen Phillips walk, and then maybe you only need to get someone with that one of the 2 third-round picks in the draft. Because if you do use that 2nd-round pick on an edge and you're not signing Phillips, or you sign Phillips and you still use the 2nd-round pick on the edge, then what have you done in a tight end, right? If Goddard's gone, then are you banking on that 3rd round, late 3rd round tight end position, the draft being deep enough for tight end to pick someone up there, or are you going to have to make a splash?
That's a very good question, Loom. And so the tight end position in the draft is not deep in the front end. So you have Kenyon Sadiq, who's the tight end 1, unanimous tight end 1. He's going to go probably in the 1st round. He's been talked about though in a lot of circles, like the way Tyler Warren was last year, the way sort of Colson Loughlin was talked about as well last year. I am not quite there with Sadiq. I really do like him. Thought he was a fabulous player for Oregon. Will they have a 1st round pick? Yes, I would say the latter half of the 1st round, but I think he's going to go well before then. Just offensive weapons seem to be a premium these days, and tight ends seem to be
compared to Bowers,
10 to 15. Oh, I don't think he's anywhere near the.
That's what I was going to try to ask. Like, is it like if you look at Bowers and you look at Warren, they'd be the 2 tight ends who I think are the absolute elite level. I'm not going far back as McBride, right? Obviously, that was a huge pickup as well. But I look at those 2 as being like the elite, most recent tight ends. Are you saying he's a tier down?
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think we're going to draft a tight end in the 1st round. So that's off the table for me. Yeah, I think that'd be crazy.
Well, we never drafted a linebacker in the 1st round until recently, and how he surprised us last year, Mick. So.
That's very true, very true. But the point I was making, that after Sadiq, there's a massive drop off. So would probably be best to wait till probably a day 3 prospect at tight end. There's some really good. I like Stowers from Vandy. He's a very good tight end. Eli Raridan from Notre Dame. He's a good tight end as well.
Of course, I like him.
Of course, I like him. And there's guys that showed out at the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl as well that we'll cover in future episodes. We'll do a bit of a deep dive into the tight end position. We'll do.
I'd love that.
All the position groups.
Awesome.
As I say, this 1st episode is really just to get a state of where the roster's at.
Whetting the appetite.
Groups that we can look at. Yeah, but just throwing some names out, just ring a bell.
I love it. It's like, because now that these names are going to be slowly floating out there, we're now going to be looking at them. And of course, the combine is next week, right? So we're already like quickly coming around to it. Like of those couple of tight end players, that you mentioned, like Sadiq, for example, or the Notre Dame guy, like, are there any like areas where about them where you'd be looking to see like how they would show up at the combine? Like, is pace an issue for your Notre Dame guy or Sadiq? And could that like blow someone up, do you think, in a tight end position based on a combine performance?
It can do. It can. I think the combine. I'm not a massive fan of the combine in general, because I think guys tend to lose a lot of weight, and they're not at their playing weight at the combine, because they just shed a ton of weight after the season finishes, just so they can run slightly faster, or they can jump slightly higher just to get the numbers up. But it's not reflective of what they'll actually do on the field.
Yeah.
So I don't love it for that reason. But there are metrics that are helpful. Don't get me wrong. Like, you love to see a guy that runs a 4.3. You know, like he can probably do that with a few extra pounds on him. But you know how much stock the Eagles put into these things as well. Look at what Jordan Davis did in his combine visit.
And then on the flip side, what Jalen Carter did at his.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember? He was just like
slapping
the things as he was going around. Like,
that was really bad. He was going through some stuff
a lot of
at that time. Yeah. Right. So, but so it can work in your favor. It can't. It could. What's also good about the combine, in a way, is if a guy doesn't show out or he has a bit of a slow 40 time, it can ding him and he might fall down draft boards.
Yeah.
So, that happened to Kyle Hamilton is a good example of that. He had quite a bad combine, or he had quite a bad 40 time.
Was he in like the 4.5s or something like that, maybe?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I just remember it not being good, or I think...
I'll look it up while you're chatting.
Yeah, I'm sure there was a rep that he lost, and he lost it quite badly. It was like a one
he was nearly 4.6. He was 4.59.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't good.
But for a safety, he's a safety, right?
Yeah.
For a safety, that is slow as hell.
Yeah, he's an all-pro safety.
I know. I know. He's one of the best safeties in the league. I remember on draft night you wanting to draft him a number of times during that draft. No idea why. Not like you had any bias there at all either.
No. but it's just examples of how. What the combine can do in terms of like letting guys slip down the board because he can't run a little bit faster than the next guy doesn't mean he's any better at football.
You look at Wilson.
That's why I just think, like, watch the games, watch the college games, watch see the production on the field. So there's two things that are important to me in terms of prospects, and one is what the hell they done for the 3 years that they were playing in college, if they played for a full 3 years of eligibility. And, like how many pressures did they get? How many touchdowns did they catch? How many contested catches did they get? All that matters.
What not like, they had.
Yeah. Not how high can he jump with like standing still?
It's a bit of a circus,
when
you think
no one
about
around
it,
them. You're like, why are we even really doing this?
Yeah.
And the second thing that I care about is like projections. So guys that maybe haven't had the production in college, but you can see it in them. They've got that little spark that just needs a bit of nurturing at the NFL level, so they'll then explode into the scene and become the next big thing. So that's your draft steals. That's the guy that you draft in day 2 and day 3. You can just see a little glimmer. That's your Jalix Hunt. That's the guy who goes to bumfuck state. You've never heard of him. You've not got any tape on him. You've never seen him play, but you just know he's got tools in his body to show out. And you can get the guy in your building, talk to him, know what he's all about.
That was going to be my third point. Like you mentioned 2 points there. The first one being, second one being their projection of where do you think you can go. The first one being their production, which is what they've already done. But the third one, not most important, but the third one for me is what they're like. Intellectually, emotional intelligence, as well as football IQ, so EQ and FQ, I guess we call it, as well as who they are as a human being. And the research that we know the Eagles do, and Dom DeSandro does a lot of the research by going to these players' hometowns and interviewing their teachers and their next door neighbors and their babysitters to find out what these guys are like. Jalen Carter was a prime example of that happening. And the Eagles put a lot of stock in the human element and the person, as well as, you look at some of the characters that they've drafted. Like recently, like Nakobe Dean and Nolan Smith, high character players, right? And leaders. They put a lot of emphasis on leaders, people who've been leaders at their colleges as well. So for me, an important part of the combine is not just watching them; it's because they will do some like interviews with players at the combine. Like they will pull players aside to speak to them. I believe Devontae Smith was one that they did. I can't remember if they did a top 30 visit as well, but they certainly spoke to him at the combine. They spoke to Jalen. That was who I was thinking, not Devontae Smith. It was Jalen Hurts they spoke to at the combine. And that interview at the combine might be the reason we have, another Super Bowl.
That is. It definitely is.
Like, so that's there's your the third crown I'll give you there will be that part of it.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was nodding my head there like the Churchill dog when you were speaking to him, because I agree with every single thing that you said, and I like the way you're thinking as well, because that's something that we're going to look at with these prospects that we're going to highlight in future episodes, and we're going to use the H.O.W.I.E draft system that I have invented.
I've heard of this. Can you? I don't know what it is, so I've got anticipation here. Can you tell me and the listeners what this new H.O.W.I.E, you're a wizard H.O.W.I system is, Mick?
Well, it's because I made it up, Liam. That's why you've never heard of it.
I know, but I've been teased about it.
Yeah, so it's just an acronym. I've made H.O.W.I an acronym, and so the H is going to be for health or high value position. So what's the player's health record? Has he got any? Did he tear his ACL in his second season? Has he got any problems there? Or high value position? Is the prospect likely to be drafted because he's a tackle or he's an edge? O is the on-field production. So as we were just just discussing, what is the hell has he actually been doing the last 3 years? Has he been productive? Do the numbers marry up with that? W, what he brings to the team or where he plays. So
almost like the fit, right?
Yeah. So that's sort of like what he brings to the team. He brings like a bit of explosiveness, or depending on the position, clearly.
Okay, I got you.
Or where he plays, whether or not he's a starter or he's a development piece, or he's a rotational piece. Like he's just he's drafted as a backup, maybe not drafted to be a second contract extended franchise player for the next 10 years, or he's been drafted. He'll do a job for us for 3 years and then we'll shake hands and move on. Could be one of those, but
like a Fred Johnson kind of.
We'll try and make a projection. Yeah. So we'll try and make a projection on that. I, which is the intangibles.
Very good.
So which exactly what you were saying, Liam.
The character
about their character, their leadership, their emotions. Have they had any DUIs?
We didn't plan this, by the way. For anyone listening in, this was a natural conversation. There are many things we do plan on these shows. This was not one of them.
And finally, E, and which will be the Eagles' fit. So does he fit within our team, within our organization? Does he sound like an Eagles player, essentially? Because I think when H.O.W.I drafts someone, he drafts Eagles players, and I know that sounds silly to say, because of course they're Eagles players, but
I know what you mean. Like, it's the culture.
I think everyone listening gets what I mean, but outside of our organization, you wouldn't get it. But I think there's also completely agree. There's also an element here with this Eagles fit, and that's how you deal with Philadelphia. And that's how you are. It's the Eagles fit in terms of the type of person they are, the culture they have, the fit within the locker room, the fit with the coaches, get all that. But it's also like, are you a Jalen Hurts? I'm going to use extreme examples here. Are you a Jalen Hurts or are you a Jalen Reagor? Right? Are you a Ben Simmons or are you Tyrese Maxey if you were going to do a basketball analogy? Can you take the heat? Can you take it, digest it, ignore it, right? And play through it and prove that you can handle the adversity, the significant challenges that it takes to play for the Philadelphia Eagles in terms of what's expected of the fans. I think that's a part of the Eagles fit. And I've got a follow-up question for you on this H.O.W.I draft system, which I love. So health, high value, on-field production.
what they bring, where they play, development starters, etc. Intangibles in terms of leadership, character, and the Eagles fit. And this just came to my mind. Do you think that the Eagles need a little bit of something else that Howie and Lurie maybe don't have in this model to help them succeed? And I'm going to use C.J. Gardner-Johnson as my example here. So I would say that C.J. Gardner-Johnson does not have the intangibles. He doesn't have the Eagles fit. Someone just popped some champagne over there. Right, Katie?
Ooh.
Hello. He's not an Eagles fit. Doesn't have the intangibles. Health and we're looking at, there's obviously draft versus trading for someone. The rest of them, sure, it's got the how, but it doesn't have the E, right? It's got the on-field production, what he brings, and the high value, but it doesn't have the intangibles and the Eagles fit. And I wonder whether the Eagles need one or two players in their team who have the how, but not the E, to bring that grit, determination, bit of nastiness every now and again, right? You could argue that Jalen Carter doesn't fit in the E, right? You could make an argument that Jalen Carter doesn't fit in the E, and maybe that's where I'm kind of going with this. But like what C.J. Gardner-Johnson brought to that team in that dressing room, while it was an absolute pain in the fucking ass, and we all hated like the bad parts of it, the fact is he was a ball hawk. He made plays when it mattered. Like he talked the talk as well as walked the walk. And I just wonder whether the Eagles try and be a bit too nice sometimes. And, maybe we do need a couple of players to give us that edge, which goes against my entire philosophy. But, I just wonder,
There's definitely a need for those kind of guys. And I'll say it's maybe, I don't think we'll find someone that will fit every single one of them and hit every single H.O.W.I.E.
Sure.
It'll be, it'll be like a web diagram, like when you're building a character. I think you and Phil spoke about this last week.
Yeah. I'm a nerd, so I play games like that all the time.
Yeah, so maybe like, he's got 100% on
speed.
On the
H.
On the speed, on the H. But, his eye is like all the way down.
He's got a tiny eye.
No, but you're like, no.
It's like, ooh. That's odd. Look, oh my God. Okay, so I don't know whether this was in your plans, but I would like. I'm asking you to do something extra here. Maybe you've already got a plan. I don't know, but I would like for each episode for you to pick one player and make your Howie web diagram for that player. So, like a player who you like, do you know what I mean? Like a player who you think the Eagles could go for, and you do a web diagram of the Howie, which tells the listeners where he fits on that web diagram thing. I think that would be really cool.
I shall do that for you, for the group.
For all Eagles fans around the world. This is awesome. I don't know where we are in terms of the agenda of this podcast. So.
No, we sort of veered off a little bit, but that's okay. So we touched on the edge group, we touched on the tight end group being massive holes for the free agents of what we were left with on the roster. We spoke at the very start of the program, Liam, about the offensive line.
Yes,
and that is sort of next on the agenda, and where we rest with the offensive line. So we got the good news that Lane Johnson is going to return. So that's the massive sigh of relief. We'll at least have him for one more year, and potentially draft his replacement, and he can learn from Lane and eventually take over. And he's not going to be thrown straight into the fire straight away. And as well as Landon Dickerson as well, whether or not that's a good thing. I suppose it is a good thing, but we don't know which version of Landon we're going to get. Are we going to get the same as last year, or will it be back to his best? We don't really know, unfortunately.
The crazy thing about the offensive line, Mick, is that we could genuinely, as I used to say when I had more of an Irish accent, we could genuinely have 4 different offensive. We could have all 5 of our starters fit for the start of the season, and the only one left standing after this year could be Mailata. all other 4 can be gone. Tyler Steen may not make the leap we want him to have. Jurgens may not recover from his injury, or we may not keep him. Lane Johnson could very well retire, and Landon Dickerson may well have to retire because of injuries. That's a real possibility. And I mean, with that in mind, like, I don't think I'd be massively surprised if the Eagles went back to back in the O-line to start the draft, which would be wild. But I think it's going to be
and interior.
Yeah, I think so. A tackle and a guard who can maybe play center. I think that's I don't think it's the most likely outcome, but I think it's. Like, I mean, the only way they. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, continue.
I was going to say, the only thing, and I've been kind of banging the Fred Johnson drum for a while in the chat and stuff like that. Like, I feel like Fred Johnson's one of the most integral signings in free agency this year, because we just don't know what's going to happen to the offensive line. And I feel bad because he wants to get starter money. And I want that for him because he's paid his dues and his service for the Eagles. But, like, there's a scenario where, like, he could play right guard, left tackle, right tackle for us if we needed him to. And I'm so worried about the Eagles' offensive line, because you say you can't win without a franchise quarterback, and I don't believe you can. But I believe even more you can't win with a high-performing O-line. Just don't think it's possible in this league. Not with the defensive threats around the league now, and the time the quarterbacks have to throw the ball if they can't hold a pocket, and then you throw in the run game with Saquon Barkley. We have a window where Hurts and Barkley and Smitty and AJ. Even without AJ, you got 3 incredible weapons there in Smitty, Hurts, and Barkley, and all 3 of whom are relying on the offensive line, either giving Jalen enough time to throw it, either giving Jalen the opportunity to run, or opening lanes for Barkley. And while they are coming back, and it's great news, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, we don't know what that coming back means. We just don't. And I wonder whether Harry's going to feel that either in free agency and the draft, or double drip in the draft. I think if we sign Fred Johnson back somehow, if we can somehow get Fred Johnson back, then obviously I don't think we need to do that. But yeah, sorry, I want to
swing. Fred
What's
can
that?
Play swing tackle.
Yeah.
That's value in its own, just a guy that can come in.
He can play guard as well. He's played guard for us before as well. I'm 90% sure he's played both left and right tackle, and I know he's played a guard position before. I think right guard.
I'm slightly intrigued though, Liam. There's a lot of doom and gloom going on just now about the offensive line and how bad it looks.
Bring Andre Dillard back.
I don't mean you particularly, and it's we have to spend high draft capital on them because we don't have the coaching staff anymore to develop a guy within a year to become a franchise right tackle. But do we have guys in the building, Liam? I mean, we drafted 2 tackles last year. Cam Williams got some playing time. He looked okay to me. Miles Hinton, I think he's predominantly played left tackle in his college years. I don't think he got any playing time with the Eagles during the season, just during the season gone. But their development must continue as well, and I'll be intrigued to see what the Eagles' plan is for these guys, whether or not they see them as future starters, or if they're just, as you say, depth pieces, just a Fred Johnson replacement or a Brett Toth replacement. Maybe one of them could kick inside.
I'm really intrigued, Mick, and I don't know an awful lot about them because we drafted them last year and we didn't see them a lot. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. There's also Tyler Steen was drafted to be a guard/tackle. Maybe Tyler Steen plays better at the right tackle position than he plays at the guard position. There's that possibility, but I don't know enough about it. I would imagine the tackle position is harder to play than the guard position, and he hasn't lit the stage of light at right guard, but he's young. He's young, and it wasn't a small draft capital. It wasn't like a low draft capital we spent on him. But it was at least a 4th round pick, I want to say, for Tyler Steen. Might even been a 3rd round pick for Tyler Steen. I need to go back and check. I could be talking out my arse here. But yeah, you're right. And look, there's also a scenario, Mick, And it's probably as likely a scenario as 4 of our offensive line not being there next year, that the offensive line is back healthy this year and it's a top 5 in the league. Like that is a plausible scenario. They have proven, these guys together have proven they can be that at that elite level for a couple of years. They're Pro Bowl caliber players. You've got, other than Tyler Steen, you've got 4 Pro Bowl offensive linemen there, right? Although maybe Adam never made it, but like he definitely should have done. But Jurgen,
Cam got Pro Bowl.
Cam should have got this year, but he got it last year as well. And Dickerson has 3. Lane Johnson has 6. I don't know whether Marlon has one, but everyone knows he is Pro Bowl caliber. So while I say it's all doom and gloom, you're right. There are people in the building. We've got draft capital to spend, and guys, they could be back fit and healthy and back to where we're used to. So I guess we don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, and as a look ahead to the draft, offensive like in terms of offensive tackles, I think there's a good solid bunch of tackles on the board this year for sure. I don't think there's like a lot of the elite prospects that we've seen over the last few years, like right up the top of the board that would be drafted in maybe the top 5.
Like Penny Sewell kind of tackle.
Yeah, like a Penny Sewell or the guy from the Chargers.
Sure. Not Turney.
I can't believe I've forgotten his name because he's a Notre Dame player. And... Go on.
It's all right. You're rusty, buddy. Don't worry about
it. Tell me.
The Chargers tackle. No idea. Useless. We're not a Chargers podcast, Mick. Don't worry about it.
No, don't worry about it. So, I mean, the guy who I think is tackle 1 this year would be Maui Noah.
Oh, Rashad Slater.
No, well, there is Slater, but I was talking about the right tackle. But
Elijah Ellis.
No.
David Sharp. I'm just ruining this whole thing here.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So tackle 1 is going to be Maui Noah.
Joel. Sorry, I had to get there.
Joel.
Sorry.
Joel. Can't believe I forgot that. That's handing my golden dome for that.
He left you. He left Notre Dame and went to the Chargers. He's dead to you now.
Absolutely. But just to throw out a couple of names, Liam, of guys that we could possibly be interested in. Maybe Caden Proctor from Alabama. I mentioned him in a podcast a long time ago. This would have been...
Be a surprise if Howie drafted a guy from Alabama, right?
Yeah. This would have been at the start of the season. I'm pretty sure I threw out Caden Proctor's name and I thought, keep your eye on him.
Could he be at the end of the first, do you think?
I think he could. Yeah, I think he could fall to it. He's 6'7", 360. He's projected to go in the first round. Typical Alabama player, 5-star recruit. He's been there forever, and he ticks all the boxes. He's been an all SEC first team left tackle starter for multiple years. The guy's got a lot to like, but I mean he still does need a bit of development. Hence why he's not going in the top 10, and why the Eagles could potentially draft him.
Well, like his feet or or the leverage of his hand position, or stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's like sort of like the fundamental sort of stuff, like that Jeff Stoutland would get his hands on him and coach all of that out of him. We don't have Jeff anymore, but we'll still have an offensive line coach who will be able to teach this guy.
I still think Kelsey should come back and be our offensive line coach next year once he's fit in the media.
But with Travis and
bring him into the building. Do their podcast from the NovaCare. The Jefferson Complex, which is probably what it's going to be called, the Jefferson Health Complex. That's going to be a new tongue twister to get a hold of.
And another guy, Max Iheanachor.
Okay.
He's from Arizona State. He's another tackle that looks quite good. Another, which I would say, another project sort of type of tackle, but would probably take maybe a first round pick if he climbs up draft boards during the combine. It could be a combine riser.
Okay.
Or potentially even the second round if we can get away with it, or possibly with a small trade up. or even a trade back in the first. You never know.
Okay. Yeah.
There's just to throw some names out, but as I said, we will do a bit more deeper dive.
Yeah, for sure.
These guys as the time goes on. I'll make sure I pick guys with hard to pronounce names as well.
Sounded like Iheanachor, who was an old striker for Leicester back in the day.
It's exactly like. Well, he plays for Celtic now.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Yeah. Iheanachor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Iheanachor with an R at the end, so it's Iheanachor.
Iheanachor.
I
love it.
But he's actually got a good story. He grew up in Nigeria, then he came over to the States.
Oh, nice.
He only started playing football. He had a background in basketball, and he said, "Oh, why don't you play some football?" And he joined a community college team. He got picked up by the Fresno State coach, and then the Fresno State coach got hired by Arizona State, and they brought him in there. He sat for a little bit. They had some injuries on the offensive line. He came in, started, didn't lose the job after that.
Jordan Mailata 2.0.
It's been a massive success story for him, So
cool. He's now my number one pick for the Eagles this year. You've already convinced me with that story. Like, give me him. I want Iheanachor. You are an Eagle. Welcome.
See, that's the Eagles fit is like right up on the heavy scale.
Like you think Jordan Mailata, but like you also think of like Giannis in basketball, like these rough diamonds in Africa that get picked up or moved to America, and then they're athletically incredible. So with the right coaching and training, they can be world class at their sport. I think that's awesome, and what a cool story for him and his family as well. Like, that's awesome. Sign me up, Mick.
I love stuff like that, but it just goes to show, Liam, when you come into it and you think first round has to be a tackle. Maybe it's an edge, and then we take Iheanachor in the second. So
okay, all right, it doesn't have to be. Yeah, you've convinced me. There are options there. It would just be hilarious. Like, we need to bookmark this moment for when the Eagles draft a tight end in the first round after the podcast. Yeah, all right.
But like I said, I think the tackle class is quite deep, and I think the edge class is quite deep. And if those are the two positions, like we spoke about it already, the edge depth isn't there, the tackle depth isn't really there for us either, or we need long-term replacements. Those are two good position groups to be looking at in this year's draft. I mean, the edge group, like you've got Ruben Bain, you've got David Bailey at the top of the class. Forget those names because you won't be seeing them in an Eagles uniform unless H.O.W.I.E does something crazy to draft into the top 10. But some guys that we could get, like just to throw names out again, Cashius Howell from Texas A&M, that may involve a slight trade up from where we sit at the moment, or he could fall. Another one we'll keep an eye on, and TJ Parker from Clemson, I like him as well. So I think it is quite a deep edge group, and I don't think it's a dead discussion to say that we could look at that position in the first.
I think edge, tight end, although I don't think it'll happen, offensive line are all, and you could maybe throw a wide receiver in there with some kind of deal that we don't know that's going to be made post June 1st with AJ Brown. You could throw a wide receiver in that mix as well. I kind of doubt that, but I can see all of the above there going in the first. Hey, maybe there's a safety in the first that pops up out of nowhere that we really like and we can't pass on. Again, I think that's less likely, but I just who knows now with Howie? Like everything we thought he was going to take an offensive tackle in the draft class last year, or an edge player, and he went for a linebacker who wasn't even lining up on the edge. So, I mean, that's the beauty of Howie and Howie's magic is we're never going to know until we're on the clock, or in 2.5 or just under 2 months' time. In Pittsburgh, by the way, the draft is. I might see if I can wander my way down there.
I was going to say, yeah. You could go down. You could drive down there, mate.
You could drive down there about 5.5 hours, or you could take an hour flight. Pretty close. Everyone drives or flies over here. There's no public transport connecting to USA.
That's what I mean. Like, you could drive down there in your big new car, mate. You've got
we got 2 cars now, mate. Got 2. We got one each. Well, we're sharing both.
Not bad.
Feeling like Phil with his mid floor in his house.
Yeah, of course. So just to probably wrap up the podcast now, because we've been going for a bit longer than we said we were.
I think that's fine though, right? We're getting the feelers out, and then we'll do 30-minute focus on groups like after this one.
Yeah, I think so.
And I'll talk.
So I would say, yeah, so the strong position groups is tackle, edge, sneaky wide receiver class, but I don't think there's like wide receiver 1 caliber type guys. I think it's a lot of wide receiver 2 type guys that are all sort of bunched together. And cornerback as well, which is actually sneaky good in the first couple of days of the draft, I think.
And am I right in saying the running back group is not that deep, but like obviously your guy is at the top of the tree, and I think even your second guy, when I say your guy, I'm talking about Notre Dame, of course, Love and Price, I believe.
Yes.
They're 2 of the top talents in the running back class, but Love is far and away the RB1, would you say, in this draft class?
Yes, Love is definitely RB1 on everyone's board. His consensus probably, like, if you just take position value out of the draft, top 5 in position.
Top 5 player in the draft, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I would maybe even top 3. I would say like Jeremiah Love, Caleb Downs, and probably Ruben Bain. I would say were the top 3 prospects in this draft. Mendoza, obviously, the QB.
I was going to say, we're going to have to talk about the QBs at some point because we're an Eagles podcast, and if we don't, it wouldn't be right.
Yeah, but again, the QB position is exactly the same as RB position this year, and there's one at the top, and then the rest are all day 2, day 3. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, buddy. Well,
which is funny because this draft was supposed to shape up as like the quarterback draft, and now I hear everybody saying, "Oh, next year's the quarterback draft." That's what they said last year about this year.
Couple of quarterbacks who they thought might turn out for the draft this year haven't, right? Arch Manning didn't have the season he thought he was going to. I know it kind of picked up towards the second half, maybe. And then,
Arch was never going to declare. I don't think.
No, he has a lot of bollocks.
No, he didn't have enough playing time. This was his first season start.
Is there another QB who definitely could have declared who would have went high?
It was Dante Moore.
Dante Moore.
The Oregon quarterback, he could have declared, but he didn't. So he's running it back. But some guys just underperformed. Like Cade Klubnik, the Clemson quarterback, he underperformed. He was supposed to be one of the next big things. I had him as a early Heisman winner, and he totally folded. So I lost some money on that one.
I had Arch Manning as the Heisman winner.
I did recuperate some money. I eventually got it right.
Oh, good man.
Never mind.
Anything else for us, Mick, or should we wrap up
there?
No,
that's. I think we'll wrap up there. It's past midnight. It's past my bedtime now. So,
what can we look forward to in episode 2? What do we got lined up for?
Oh yes, of course.
The first specialist episode after we've gone through from a high level.
Episode 2, I think we're going to look at Draft Board 1.0, which will be the top Eagles targets. And we'll give you the top 10 realistic players the Eagles could draft. And we'll do a bit of a combine preview as well, because the interviews will have started, but they wouldn't have done the testing. They tend to do the testing through the weekend, and we'll record before the weekend.
Okay.
We'll do some of that.
I cannot wait to get into it, and you can probably tell by how much I've chatted on this podcast how excited I am. My mind's kind of buzzing about all the different permutations, possibilities that could happen this offseason. Because I just think like this year more than any year that I think I followed the Eagles, maybe when Carson Wentz was when he left, that season may be the same, but I just think anything could happen in this offseason, and I don't know what to expect. So I'm just really, really excited. First draft in the USA. I won't need to stay up until crazy o'clock to watch the first round. So
I'm jealous.
if you guys need me to be on the Roar the Lions live podcast to give you guys a bit of a rest, I can do that now. So
Good.
it's going to be good. Hey, Mick, great to have you back, my friend. I know listeners listening in will be so delighted to hear your beautiful, sexy Scottish dulcet tones on the podcast again. You're missed massively on this podcast by a lot of people, including members of my own family who say, "Where's Mick?" So glad to have you back, mate. I know your life's chaotic with four kids, and you're moving house soon, and I wish you all the best with that when that materializes. And yeah, just good to have you back, buddy. And I promise I won't keep you up past midnight next time.
Cheers, mate.
Awesome. All right, we are the British and Irish Eagles. We are sponsored by Loch Lomond. There is actually going to be a Loch Lomond part to this Road to the Draft, but we will tease that for one of the next episodes. Because I did see that on the notes, Mick. We are sponsored by, of course, Loch Lomond and also Passion Avenue. If you haven't joined up to be a British and Irish Eagles member, please go to www.phillysportsinternational.com and do so. You can enter all of the wonderful things we do, from watch-alongs to trips to Philadelphia to guides, WhatsApp groups, and fantasy leagues. If you go on social media now, you can see the signed Eagles helmets and balls from Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, that we got given by the Eagles to give away as part of prizes last year. You could be the next winner of one of those prizes. Come and join the fun here at British and Irish Eagles Philly Sports International. I have been Liam, the talkative Irishman, and we've had the beard back himself. Looking forward to the next one, Mick. Go Birds, everyone.
Celebrate victories, rally through challenges, and bond with fellow fans as you toast with a dram of Loch Lomond single malt whisky. From tailgating gatherings to watch parties at home, Loch Lomond whisky becomes an essential companion, enhancing the moments that make football so extraordinary. It's the perfect accompaniment, from the joy of victory to the bittersweet moments of defeat. Loch Lomond offer a wide range of malts, with their flagship perfectly balanced, and signature expressions Inchmoan and Inchmuren to suit any taste palette. Celebrate greatness on and off the field this season with a perfect balance of Loch Lomond whisky and Eagles football. From the first pour to the crowd roar, fly Eagles fly.